Why did you become a fundraiser?
Why did I become a fundraiser?
That's a complicated question.
I became a fundraiser because that's where I saw the power is in a lot of systems.
You know, I am of that era where I kind of tripped and fell into it.
I became a fundraiser on accident.
Well, professionally, I became a fundraiser for very practical reasons.
I don't know that anyone knows why they become a fundraiser.
In some ways, fundraising chose me.
I never actually saw myself as a fundraiser. I grew up in an isolated rural area, very poor, but it wasn't a problem. There was no disparity because everyone was very poor. And I had always seen really like TV commercials or hear things. My parents listened to NPR, so you'd hear, donation drives, but it always seemed like something that rich people do if they want to feel like they're doing something good. I don't think I had a context that anyone could do it. And a friend referred me to Social Justice Fund, and I did a giving circle. So I did an environmental justice giving circle. And I remember one of the very first exercises we did, we would do these day-long trainings to get a context for what giving meant to us personally. And it was an exercise where we all had to line up and sort of have conversations to figure out where we were in a sort of the invisible socioeconomic class system of America. And what was great was finding myself at a certain end of the spectrum, but talking to people about ways that we were giving all the time, of our time and food or babysitting, or just different ways we were giving, and that could be philanthropic. And then all of a sudden it just opened up like, oh, I could do this.
I became a fundraiser out of necessity. I was doing program work for a long time, doing youth leadership training, youth empowerment programs, and funding for it, of course, was grant funded, and there was limitations on the actual funding, and so that funding was going to sunset. And I think for a young person trying to figure out how do I keep a job, how do I keep a program is really important to the community and to my own work. We had to figure out a way to keep it going.
I don't think anyone ever starts out to be a fundraiser. I think it's something most people fall into by accident. And I think the underlying part is I've always had a commitment to equity and to justice. And I discovered that fundraising was something that I uniquely had skills that I could do it. And it didn't scare me the way it scared a lot of my friends and coworkers.
Worked in the private sector for quite a while, but it wasn't fulfilling. And so I wanted to do something that at the end of the day, when I looked in the mirror, I felt good about the work I'd done or accomplished.
I applied for, and so I wasn't even a fundraiser. Okay, let me just make that clear. I was not a fundraiser. I was a grant writer. And there's a there's a difference. But I was like, well, I could probably do this. So I applied for the job there and became a professional fundraiser.
I think that the first time that I understood that I was fundraising was when I co-captained a team for a bowl-a-thon for Seattle Young People's Project, and it's a very grassroots annual fundraising event that they used to do, and it looked, it was fun, right? It was something that a lot of my friends were doing. It didn't seem too scary. And I can't remember what the original goal was that I set, but it was a goal that seemed intimidating to me at the time. I hit it really quickly. And then I was like, oh my God, maybe I can raise $1,000, which looking back now, that's, it's sweet to remember when $1,000 seemed such a scary, but ambitious and exciting goal. And I did hit it. And then I was like, wow, I wonder what else I can do.
My church group, we were always raising money to go on youth group trips. And so we had to do a lot of work. We baked cookies, we made jewelry, we did all kind of things to raise money. And now looking back, people weren't just giving us money because they really wanted those cookies or they wanted that jewelry, but they wanted to support us. So it was something that you did with the support of your community. You always could go and ask someone and they would always give you something because they wanted to see you do better. They wanted to see you have a good experience.
Do you have any fears or anxiety around fundraising?
a nervousness for me was, would the way I am in a true, authentic way translate into rich people culture, or what I imagine to be rich people culture? And that was very nerve-wracking to think about.
In situations where I was really like the odd man out, coming from a city that is really segregated and has a lot of quote-unquote old money, reaching out to donors who don't look like me, who have a certain level of trust for people who do look like me, really presented some barriers in building relationships.
I've worked with boards where people were like, no, we cannot ask our clients, we cannot ask our other board members that are representing low-income communities for support. And the most powerful moments have been when I've sat down with our board members who are also clients and had said, we ask everybody to support the organization, and it's up to you how you want to do that. And I've seen the most passionate $5 gifts more passionately given than the $25,000, the $500,000 gifts. And to me, that really makes fundraising a community effort and something that's more powerful if everybody feels like they're part of it. Then you don't have this us versus them dynamic.
And what would you say to other people of color that want to be fundraisers? How would you encourage them?
To have people of color in institutions, whether it's large, brand name institutions or smaller grassroots efforts, asking other people of color to step into that stream of formally being involved in having capital change hands and therefore power be more in the hands of more people.
The history of philanthropy within our communities, Asian and Asian American communities, it's not that deep when you look at it from a mainstream definition. It actually really is deep. Our communities have long histories of supporting one another. There are these kind of community-based giving circles. They're just not called that. And so then they're not given that recognition for the value of their historical significance.
My goal is to, to build a community of Black folks that understand what collective giving means. Mm-hmm. Because that's where our power is. Our power is in the collective and not in the individual. It's not looking at one of us who has way more than enough and saying, okay, we're just going to make sure that that person does it. It's every single person, regardless of their class, background, understanding that, they can make this happen. They have something to give. Sometimes it's not money, but just the act of collective giving is the most important thing.
For me, it is about building power and voice for the community. I'm not asking for money and I'm not raising money because I personally benefit. I benefit when our community is stronger and more visible and has a greater active role in how we kind of create this society that we want.
I think people of color need to be fundraisers because our communities need us. The number one barrier to most nonprofits is money. They just need more resources to do their thing. And yes, some organizations can work on a social enterprise model and some organizations can have a fee-for-service model. But really, I think fundraising can take many forms, but we really need fundraising staff to be resourced by the communities that they're serving and raising money from those communities and raising money from other communities.
For me, the biggest motivation for people of color to become fundraisers is because through a lived experience, we bring a very different set of lenses and analysis and assumptions to the space and the work.
I think the qualities that are necessary for somebody to be a fundraiser are already present within a lot of people of color, especially people that have had so many different struggles.
Good fundraising is fundamentally organizing. It's about bringing together resources in order to pool them to make something bigger and stronger for a greater good. And that's something that all of us, all of our communities, all of our histories have always done. And the proof of that is that we're all here. We would not have survived if we didn't have that skill, if we didn't have that resilience and that ability to pull together resources through centuries, through war, through genocide, through slavery, through immigration, through so many things that our communities have been through, right? We only have been able to do that through pulling together our resources.
Think about how you can take the things that you do and the things that you know and put them into a fundraising setting.
Anyone can be a fundraiser. I think it's really about, like, how do you want to think about resourcing our work?
For too long, because of who has access to wealth and gets to make those decisions, the folks most impacted have not been centered in those decisions.
Don't let anybody tell you you can't be there. It's like you belong there as much as anybody else.
If you're a person of color who's looking to get into fundraising, I would say please do.